What if the life you've always dreamed of, the one you've worked for and obsessed over, what if it was all built on a lie? That's really the question at the heart of Charles Dickens' Great Expectations. And this isn't just a stuffy old novel, it's a psychological thriller that uses the class-obsessed world of Victorian England to explore something timelessly unsettling. So today, let's break down the machinery of this incredible story. And that question really is the engine that drives the entire book. See, Pip's great expectations aren't just a simple dream. They are a meticulously crafted illusion. He's like a puppet in a play that he doesn't even realize he's a part of, with strings being pulled by these powerful forces of revenge, guilt, and social ambition that are way beyond his comprehension. So, right off the bat, let's just forget everything you might think about a simple rags to riches story. Dickens isn't here to celebrate social climbing. He's here to perform an autopsy on it. He's showing us in excruciating detail how the Victorian obsession with becoming a gentleman was this toxic pursuit that could completely rot a person from the inside out, leaving them with nothing but a fancy suit and a totally empty soul. Okay, so let's get into our first section, a gentleman's moral trap. The very moment Pip decides he wants to be a gentleman, that's it. Bam. He basically slams the door on his own moral prison. Now, it's a gilded cage for sure, but it is a cage. And with every single step he takes up that social ladder, the bars just get a little bit thicker, cutting him off from who he really is. And just look at how it starts. Listen to the wording here. Pip doesn't just tell his kind friend Biddy his dream, he binds her to secrecy. From the absolute beginning, his ambition is treated like this shameful secret, something that just can't survive in the honest, open air of his working-class world, with Joe at the forge. And let's be really clear here. This isn't about self-improvement. It's about shame. Pip's great expectations are born in the exact instant Estella calls him a common laboring boy. He's not trying to better himself out of some noble inner drive. No, he is desperately trying to run away from the humiliation of being himself. Disgusted. Man, that one word just says it all, doesn't it? It's not just him rejecting his job or his life. It's a profound act of self-rejection. He has so completely internalized the snobbery of society's house that he now sees his own world and himself through their cold, judgmental eyes. And this is the trade-off he makes. You can see it laid out right here. He's swapping the genuine warmth and moral clarity of Joe's forge for the cold, calculating, and frankly, shallow world of the upper class. He's trading unconditional love for social maneuvering. And in doing so, he's not just betraying Joe, he's betraying the best part of himself. So now for our second section, illusions of fortune. Because Pip's moral compass isn't just a little broken at this point, it's been completely rewired by this choice. And that's because his entire new life is built on a foundation of absolute lies. He's not just living a lie, he becomes the author of his own elaborate and deeply flawed fantasy. You know, he isn't just passively fooling himself here. Oh no, he is the active architect of his own delusion. He sees what he wants to see, a classic case of motivated reasoning. And at the very center of this fantasy is Miss Havisham, the fairy godmother who's going to wave her magic wand and give him everything he's ever wanted, especially Estella. And this is where it gets really, really twisted. Miss Havisham sees Pip's delusion, and instead of correcting him, she cultivates it. She nurtures it. She's not just letting him believe a lie, she is actively weaponizing his hope to fuel her own bitter, all-consuming revenge plot. So let's break down this whole house of cards he's built for himself. The foundation? Well, that's the idea that Miss Havisham is his secret benefactor. The walls? She's obviously grooming him to marry Estella. And the roof? A perfect life of wealth and status. The only problem is, the entire structure is about to come crashing down. That whole building, his carefully constructed identity as a gentleman, well, it's about to be hit by a wrecking ball. And the deep structural irony here, the thing that's going to bring it all down, is the very same truth he's been trying to escape his entire life, his connection to the marshes, to crime, and to the lowest class. Boom! That is the sound of Pip's entire world imploding. The money, the status, the identity, it all comes from Magwitch, a convicted criminal from the absolute bottom of society. The foundation of his life isn't just cracked, it's rotten to the core. He's forced to look in the mirror and finally see himself for what he is, the creation of a dunghill dog.
So let's move on to our third section, characters forged by others. Magwitch says, "I've made a gentleman on you." And that word made is so important because he is absolutely not the only one playing God in the story. This reveal cracks open one of the book's darkest themes, that almost every major character is just a product of someone else's expectations, a puppet dancing on strings they can't even see.
Just think about this exchange from the very beginning. It's not just cruel, it's completely dehumanizing. Miss Havisham doesn't see a boy. She sees a thing, a tool, a practice dummy for Estella's cruelty. He's nothing more than a prop in her twisted revenge fantasy, a pawn she's ready to sacrifice without a second thought. And this brings us to Estella, who isn't really a villain, is she? She's more like a victim of this disturbing psychological experiment. She has literally been raised from birth to be a weapon, a beautiful, heartless machine designed for one purpose and one purpose only, to break men's hearts. Miss Havisham has systematically destroyed her capacity for empathy, and in doing so, has broken the one thing that could have saved her, her own heart. But then we get this incredible moment where Estella finally reclaims her own story. She turns to her creator, and she's basically saying, "This is on you. You wanted a monster? Well, don't be surprised when I act like the monster you designed." She's not just a product anymore. She's a self-aware creation, and she is holding her maker accountable. And this is the ultimate be careful what you wish for moment, isn't it? Miss Havisham wanted a heartless puppet, and her project was a terrifying success. The tragedy is that now, when she finally craves the love of a daughter, it's far too late. The weapon she forged has no off switch, and it's aimed right back at her own heart. So, after all of this, all the deception, the manipulation, the heartbreak, you have to ask, was any of it worth it? That's the question we're going to answer in this final section, as we tally up the true, devastating cost of Pip's great expectations. All right, let's look at the final invoice for Pip's little adventure into high society. But the currency we're talking about isn't pounds and shillings. We're talking about morality, innocence, and human connection. And as we're about to see, the debt he has racked up is going to take a lifetime of suffering and humility to even begin to repay.
So, what's on the bill? First up, total alienation from Joe, the one person who loved him unconditionally. Then you've got the complete loss of his own innocence. Add to that the construction of a totally false identity that just crumbled under the weight of truth. And finally, the crushing realization that he was just a pawn in someone else's bitter game. The grand total? A complete and utter loss of self.
In the end, the novel really boils down to one simple but profound question. What actually makes a person gentle? Is it the clothes you wear, the money in your bank account, or the title before your name? And the novel's answer couldn't be clearer. It's Joe Gargery, the common blacksmith who is more of a true gentleman in his heart than any of the so-called gentlemen Pip meets in London. And that's the question I want to leave you with. Let's ask ourselves, what are our great expectations? And more importantly, who is writing the script for our lives? Is it us? Or is it the endless scroll of social media, the curated perfection of influencer culture, and the constant pressure to be more, to have more, to achieve more? Because if there's one thing Great Expectations teaches us, it's that the life you think you want might not be the one you actually need. If you enjoy digging into these big questions and breaking down what makes classic literature tick, then you know what to do. Subscribe to The Analytical Reader. We have so much more to talk about.